Hi, it's good to welcome you to Basic Skills in Christian Counseling for this semester. I know that we have a lot of things going on in our world, and especially as we're reacting and protecting ourselves from the threat of the COVID-19. So, as we go through this semester, I know that we'll probably have to make some adjustments and there'll be some things that will affect our time together. But I wanted to just share with you some ideas about the semester and kind of where we'll be going in this course and just outline some things for you to get you started as part of the introduction. I'm very glad that you're a part of this class and that as we go through this to help you look at some of those basic skills that are very important to each of us as counselors as we just begin to engage people in the counseling relationship and as we kind of put a framework around what we will do and how we do that as counselors. And that's one of the things I enjoy about this course, or really like about this course, is that it gives students a framework for really operating within the context of counseling and beginning to interact with the client, to get basic information from clients and to understand what's going on in their lives. And then how you frame that for them in terms of where do they want to go in their lives and what kinds of things do they want to accomplish in counseling. And then how do you accomplish that? What do you do in terms of the services and the types of therapy that you will use with them to help them meet those goals? As you will notice in our textbook, the model that we're looking at that's outlined in our textbook, that problem management and opportunity development model, I think is a really good model because it helps us look at, what are people's problems? What are they reporting to us? What are they identifying as their needs? And then how do we help them with the opportunities that they have to then develop a roadmap for them to move forward doing the things that they want to do and to help them kind of get their life where they want it to be. As you go through the lessons this week and the reading and the PowerPoints, one of the things that you'll notice in the PowerPoint about the model is I share with you my own kind of thinking or conceptual framework for counseling. And what I have always asked people, and it's pretty simple, when they would come in and I would talk to them and hear about them, hear their story, kind of find out what it is they want to work on or what the issues are for them. I would say to them, okay, where is your life and what are the things you don't like about it? What's causing you problems? And I would say, let's describe that. And then I would say, okay, if your life were perfect or as near to perfect as it could be, what would it look like? How would you want your life to be? And so they would describe that. And then I would say, okay, well, this is where you are, and this is where you want to be. How do we get you there? So how do you go from where you are, the adjustment problems you have, the issues you have, the concerns that you have, to kind of the best life that you're identifying? So how do we take you from this point where you are to here? That's the counseling process. That's simply put. And as you will note in the model, it says it's atheoretical, meaning that this model is not built on the idea of a certain theory or a certain conceptual framework for counseling. It is a model for any theory. And so essentially what the authors talk about is what we have in this problem kind of identification or problem management mentality and then opportunity development. Any theory that you like or any theory that you adopt as your own could fit within this model, because this model really is kind of the skeleton on which you could hang any theory or any conceptual framework for counseling. And then you can help that client go forward as you see them, or a family or a couple, whatever it may be. It could be improving a family or helping our family be more stable. It could be helping a couple get to a point in their marriage or their relationship that they want to be from maybe where they are with conflict and poor communication or poor problem solving skills or decision making or conflict management, whatever it may be. It's taking the client from where they are to where they want to be, and how do we do that? And as we go through this model, you will see that it identifies getting to know the client, getting the information from the client, getting the story, not just what the client is saying, but the real story. And one of the things that I've learned as a counselor is that sometimes what the client is saying to you is not the real story. That's just maybe part of it, or maybe it's the surface, or it might not even be close. They just want to see what you're going to do. And then as you go along, they will begin to reveal to you the real concerns, the real issues they have, and begin to disclose those things. So as you're going through getting to know the client, part of the concern that we have as counselors is, how do I really get to the real core of what's going on with this person? Because more than likely, starting out, they're not telling you exactly everything. They will reveal it little bits at a time, because they want to trust you and understand that you will handle that okay, and that they can give you their information. They can pour their soul out to you, and you're going to be okay with that, and you're going to help them with it. And then as they do, they will begin to reveal things, and you'll hear that described in our model as getting to not just the real story, but the right story. And here's why. If you just say, okay, here's what I'm hearing, and let's work on this, and get you somewhere, that may not be the real thing they need to work on. So you can start spinning your wheels in counseling, not helping the client go anywhere or improve or better their life, because you're not working on the right thing. And so when you get that right story, the accurate thing that you need to work on, then you can plan in counseling what you want to do and be more effective. But sometimes it takes a while to get to that point. One of my problems with some of our kind of solution focused short term therapy models is to just, okay, tell me your problem, tell me what's going on. Let's just define a way to fix that, and let's just do some things that we can do quickly to fix that. That's not necessarily a terrible model, but a lot of times what it does, it just kind of skims over the surface, and it doesn't really get to the real issue. And a lot of times when you do that, a person may feel better for a little while, but then those core things, those underlying things that are going on in their lives, they just spring back up. So you really want to get the deep story. I always encourage people, when you're talking to clients, as you'll learn in counseling classes, and you're sitting in a room with the client. Most of us are taught when a client comes into the office to say, well, tell me what brings you to counseling today, or tell me what your problems are that brings you into the office today for some counseling. And so we start with trying to identify what the problems are. I always encourage people to ask a different question, and that question is, tell me about yourself. Let me get to know you. Let me begin to understand who you are as a person, and just what you are as an individual. And let's just get to know you a little bit, and just to get that person to share. What they'll do as they begin to share is they will get around to what the problems are. They will get around to their concerns, and they will begin to verbalize that for you. So you have that information. It's just a way to say, I'm just here to get to know you. Let's just spend some time talking to each other about who you are, and the kind of person you are. I think that helps you get to the real story, not just the real story, but the right story as you go through this. So as we think about this, this week, we're going to talk about some of the basics of counseling, some of the things that differentiate the different professions of counseling and different types of ways that you can do counseling. So many different professions can do a lot of the same things in counseling. Now, specifically, one of the things that we'll talk about this semester, and as part of why you are at B.H. Carroll, is we teach that counseling within the Christian context. And for me, as we'll talk about this semester, that not only means just being a Christian and a counselor, it actually means that when you're sitting in a counseling room with somebody and you're approaching them in this Christian counseling perspective, there's something different about what you're going to do. It's not just, hey, I'm a counselor. I've got a license on the wall. I've got a piece of paper that says I can do this, and I'm also happen to just be a counselor. When you think about it that way, you've got I'm a counselor and I'm a Christian. What we're talking about doing is taking those two things in this program as you're working on it. If you've taken the integration class or some of the theory classes, what you'll find is it's not just I'm going to be a counselor and I'm going to be a Christian. It is I'm actually going to be doing something in my counseling different. That those two things are combined and they're drawn together and they're integrated. And that's kind of what you will be talking about in some other classes, but certainly that plays out here as well in this class. And so I want you to think in those terms. So you have some PowerPoints this week that kind of outline what we're going to be talking about. One of the things that is outlined in our PowerPoint this week and in some of the chapters that you'll read, not only now, but you'll pick up some of this flavor later on, is counseling is not for the faint of heart. This is a tough profession. Even though we're all tend to be altruistic and loving and compassionate and want to help people and be there for people, counseling is a toxic profession. We're dealing with people and entering people's lives when their lives aren't good. They're dark. They're troubled. And so we are going into that place and time in their life when there's darkness and difficulty. And it's hard to work in a toxic environment and that not affect you. I equate it to if you are a miner, if you keep up with some of the areas and issues that have occurred in the mining areas. In Kentucky and West Virginia, almost everybody that worked in a mine, in the coal mines, got black lung. And it usually would end their lives over time because they would have this disease and they would get to the point where they couldn't breathe. That was essentially the side effect of working in a toxic environment. That's not the only one, but that's just always made sense to me to think about. If you work in a coal mine, you're going to get black lung. Well, if you're going to be a counselor, guess what? You're going to be entering people's lives at a toxic, difficult, dark time. So we have to protect ourselves and watch out for ourselves as well. So think about that. One other thing that I just want to tell you today as you prepare for this class and go through this first week, please reach out, talk to me, anything, ask questions if you need to. I did do some revisions on the syllabi for this semester. One of the books that we've used in the past is not going to be available to us because that was in Questia. We're not going to have Questia available to us anymore. So I've taken that book off of the syllabus. But if you see any references to that book or reading assignments, you can ignore those. Or if you have questions, let me know. But you have an assignment this week to get into the library. And there's explanations about how you get in, guidelines about getting into the library. If you have any problems, let me know. There's some great guidelines that Don Day, our librarian, has prepared for us. So if you have questions, let me know. I can get that material from Don to you. But it explains kind of how to get into the CLC library and then how you can go to those databases. But when you go into the CLC library, you will see access to databases and you will see ProQuest. Just click on that ProQuest. It talks about the psychology databases. When you get into that main web page, then you'll see a link just under the banner, the ProQuest banner. Just under that, you'll see databases. Click on that, and it will take you to the 4 databases that are in there. 2 that are important are the eBooks and the psychology database. So click on the psychology database. And what I want you to do is just find an article about transference and countertransference. There's an assignment in this week's course or class, and you'll see that there to just post that article. I encourage you to read it, kind of think about the process of transference and countertransference. As we go through this, we'll talk about that some more. But I hope this is going to be a good semester for you. If you have questions, need anything, please reach out to me. I look forward to being with you this semester, and I just pray that God will richly bless you this semester.